Hello and welcome to the RZNGMEN Show. I'm your host, Craig Carlisle. We're right here in the same series right now. We're talking about what Mother's Day meant to us, and we're going into the second part of that conversation. And so we're going to pick this right back up where the boys and I left off and have some very candid conversations about what it looks like to have a mother and not have a mother in this particular season of our lives. And some of us listening may be kind of shocked by some of the answers, but I know I learned a lot, and I know my sons learned a lot. We learned a lot about each other. We learned about a lot about ourselves, and that's the purpose, right? We want to grow, and we cannot grow without a learning process. So we're going to jump right back in it, and we hope to provoke some thought process around what Mother's Day looks like for you, and Father's Day may even look like for you, because that's coming around the corner as well, and just to help build hope around the thought of living and living life after loss. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help someone get to someplace else that's better instead of staying in that cesspool of pity and dry bone area. We want to be able to speak life into those things. So here's some more life back for my boys and I on the RZNGMEN Show.
Honestly, if we had never found Kesem, I would know for sure we'd never be the same people we are today.
But we found that at Menifee, though.
Right.
Oh yeah, we found that at Menifee, yes. Right. But I'm saying if that was part of what Jackson was,
that involved us leaving Menifee.
True. That is also
true. Were we leaving?
Not leaving, but physically not being in Kesem. I mean, physically not being in Menifee. Sorry.
Yeah, because we had to go up to the mountains in Los Angeles to go.
That's true.
Okay, so Kaden, what was your thought?
I don't think we'd be the same place we are now if we stayed in Menifee, personally, because when you go through something traumatic, your body associates where you are at that current time with how you're feeling, and then there's some things you just can't deal with because it brings too much pain with it. And I think I'd be a lot more, I don't think I would have more of a positive relationship with you guys. I think I'd eventually lose more of my friends. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Or at least let myself continually run myself into the ground doing things for people, and then have nothing left of myself.
Now it's interesting. You guys brought those 2 points, hugely valid points. Moving here, when I was driving down here to actually view this home. Now, I had looked at other homes, other places, but when I came to look at this one, I remember heading towards the Checkpoint Hill. I hadn't got there yet. I remember being almost there. Oddly enough, it's at the exit where the other house we used to live in Temecula was. I was approaching that spot. And I felt the Lord tell me just as clear, if you don't make this move to Carlsbad, nothing that you want to do moving forward can be done. And that's huge. That was the only reason why I did it. Because we was actually supposed to have horses in that. We had an opportunity to do this same move the year before. So instead of moving into the house by Great Oak, we could have come here then. Mm-hmm. But I was the one that got nervous and afraid and stayed one more year. And I thought, oh no, the boys, they're good where they are. They need the common things that they were used to. They needed their friend body. They needed the same house. They needed these other things, right? When inside I was suffering, dying in the inside. I really could not take the area anymore. Mm-hmm. It had too much of what I had come to that area. That's not true. Now, when I come to the area for, I had too much of what I come accustomed to that area for. Mm-hmm. And whenever I physically would go places and saw people who knew me and your mom, all I would get were these pity eyes like, oh, there's that guy. There's Sandy's husband. I had lost my own identity. I was no longer Craig Carlisle in so many places. The people who knew us as a unit, mm-hmm. I was Sandy's husband. And it's just interesting because there's so many people that we were more connected to as a husband and wife team that when you become one half of the team, you don't always have the same relationship and communication level with those same people. It became, and I was mad about that for years. Sorry, I would talk about pissed off, man. Don't want to do myself mad. Because I was like, well, how you just going to just like disconnect? You know what I'm going through, right? But it took a while for me to understand that people are just as confused and lost and sad and don't really know how to communicate with me, to us, don't know what to say or how to respond.
It feels like you're chasing them for a response at some point.
Right. But it's funny you say that because it's almost like, in some cases, I felt like I was chasing them for a response and then running from their response at the same time.
And then tie it to your self-worth and make yourself feel worse about it when you don't have their attention.
Right. And that was tough. And as a dad, that was tough for me because I didn't know how to protect you guys. Because I wanted to protect you guys from that, but I didn't know how to protect you guys from it at the same time. Okay, eventually that's going to go away.
To get louder.
Oh, good grief. Okay, eventually I'm going to get rid of that sound. But anyway, so I didn't know how to protect you guys. So that was a place where, as a dad, I felt like I was lacking for so long. And I felt like I was going to hurt you guys had I moved you guys sooner. Because I don't know if you guys remember, because I haven't said this very often publicly, but I was going to move us the very, very, very first year. If it wasn't for Shane getting accepted to Ohio State and getting the scholarship money, I was actually going to move us to Paris, France.
I was about to say the same thing. I was about to say the same exact thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And only reason why is because I had gone to Paris when I was working for Abbott on a job, an assignment. And I thought it was one of the most beautiful cities in the world that I had personally been to that point. And it's a place I never got a chance to take your mom or you all to this point. We haven't been able to make it there. And so, but as I processed through and I never asked you guys if you wanted to do that. I think I may have mentioned it to, one or two other close friends that we're still in community with when I talked about doing it. And part of their answer to us was, don't do it. Your boys need some of the solid. They need some of the same of what they have currently. Don't just rip up the floor out from under them. Their mom's gone. Now their house is gone. Their friends, everything is gone. Their wise counsel they were giving me was that potentially your adjustment, your grief process could have been stunted and warped had mom been gone and we moved out of the house and within the first 3 to 4 months, first year. Where the plan that mom and I tried to follow when she got sick was try to keep everything for you guys the same, even though she was sick. So the only difference you guys would ever felt was that she's just not at home. And that was challenging. And I thank, God for all of the family that we were, that were supporting us and friends that were supporting us at that time, because it made that possible, And I think that's one of the things that's so difficult for them not to be around now is because they know what we went through. They were right there with us. And then all of a sudden, like tumbleweeds and dust bunnies, and they're gone. It's like, well, what happened? But anyway, so to hear you guys say that we're better, so I waited those years. I sucked it up. I bit my tongue, and I lived there, and I tried to figure out a way to live, and this was difficult. And we ground through. We were Team Carlisle. We made it work. You know what I'm saying? Till we got to a point where we had to go. We had to make this move.
There was only so much that we could do to help ourselves there.
Yeah.
To the point where once we kind of got through it all, it's like we have to leave to go somewhere else to find something else for us.
When we had to grow up too. I mean, I don't want to say grow up like we were babies, right? But it was tough to be in an area. Keep going and do some juice here a second. It was tough for me to be in an area where it felt like we had been there I had personally been there for 26 years. Me, personally, because I had been there since 93. So to be in an area for that long and all of a sudden feel like you don't know the place anymore, like you're an orphan in the place, and now you feel like a foreigner in a place where you've been for so long, that was hard to deal with. and I didn't know how to respond. And then I'm trying to take you all to places. I mean, all right, let's be 100. Let's be 100 about it, right? I had gone on one date in particular. So on those nights when I would go, I'm going to go hang out with some friends, I'm gone. I had gone on a date. Okay, but dating in that city was difficult for me in my brain because people saw and knew us as Sandy and Craig, or Craig and Sandy, whoever, whatever. We were that couple. I was out on a date one time in that city at the flipping movie theater, and I know the lady. I think I would want to believe she had good intentions. Dude, she straight up walked up to me and the lady I was with, introduced herself to the lady I was with, started having conversation. Not only did she just introduce herself to the lady, but gave the lady a big old hug. Oh, I'm so glad he's found someone. And but seriously, I want to believe that genuinely she was happy.
She didn't feel harmed. She didn't mean to harm you.
Right, but on the inside, that's so felt. I was already feeling and still trying to resolve the feeling of awkwardness, of being socially awkward at 51, trying to date, right? Trying to introduce myself to the world again, to someone that I think is cool enough to bring around you all. Because one thing I'd always made a commitment to myself was I wasn't going to bring a bunch of people to the house to be a revolving mom for you all, right? And I didn't figure that was fair. So I've never brought anybody to the house and introduced them as my girlfriend, ever. Because if I'm going to bring someone here to introduce them as that to you all, my thought was that it better be somebody I'm thinking about that's going to be around in your lives a long time. Because I watched each one of you as the female people who are our friends and family would come around. You all would want to climb up in laps and be hugged and, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that because you guys were young. Now, Shane didn't do it. I mean, he was 18. I mean, let's be real, right? But as a dad, I didn't think it would be fair to bring somebody that I didn't know who they were to me, hanging around, then you all become emotionally attached to them, and then they're gone, and that's more grief. So now I got to deal with compound grief from the loss of your mother, then the loss of a broken relationship with someone that you kind of got to wonder who was this person? And I don't know whether, I know there's probably a spot where a lot of us wanted your mom to really continue to be there, but just wasn't. So there's an incomplete side of your development, right? That was broken 8 years ago. So even to this moment, I still don't know how to navigate that piece. And I still remember, I don't know if you guys remember, we had that meeting before we left the Menifee house. And I asked you guys then, hey, what do you guys think about Dad marrying again? And everybody was, we talked through, and everybody kind of gave their piece, and except for Evan was, nope.
I'm not sure if you knew about this. I think we told you later on, but this was a little bit after. But Jackson actually was crying once, and I was like, "What's wrong, Jackson?" And he was crying because he didn't want you to go back out dating anymore, because he was like you had said, it was kind of hard to fill that hole of like mom not being there, and he didn't want like anybody else there. So I remember he was just kind of crying about it because he didn't want anyone to replace her.
No, I mean, and that's not. And trust me, that's was on my mind a lot, especially with you being the youngest. But when we were able to get Evan to understand it and kind of walk through what that meant, right? Because I asked you, so why would you not? Well, you mean Evan. People don't sometimes like we're on video or whatnot. So I asked Evan, I said, why would you not want me to date? And then you were finally able to put words to it. I think I was like, maybe 7 years old, maybe 8 years old. And you said that I don't want to have to choose. I mean, you were crying at that point. And you finally yelled at me, I don't want to have to choose. And I was like,
he said I was yelling.
Well, yeah, because I was pressing him. We were all you guys were all sitting on my bed, and I was kind of like, well, I need to know, and I didn't know how to process it well, because I mean, I'll tell you, I'm sure I've screwed up a lot during this 8-year process. I can tell, and that was some situation I didn't know how to handle. But I knew you all well enough where I know if I apply the right amount of pressure to each one of you all, you will comply. but I have to do it in such a way that I don't break you, meaning break your will and desire to live. Because if you break a horse like that, I mean, none of you have really seen a horse, and know that. But I'm saying, for a horse to be something that you can ride or use, and even with a dog, right? Any pet, that's an obeying animal. We are all obeying animals, right? As humans. If we break our will and our passion and desire, we become useless. There's nothing we can really do anymore. We're not going to be the same good workers and drive. And I couldn't afford to do that with any one of us, because with the loss of your mom is a broken nest. But then to be broken spiritually in your will, I couldn't do that to you, right? But I had spent a lot of time to figure out exactly how much I could push before you popped, before you broke. So I pushed you, Evan, and I pushed, and I probed, and I pushed. And you finally gave me the answer that I needed. And even that's why sometimes when I get in your face now, I need you to give me the answer. So Evan, same thing with you. When you used to come in last year and shrug shoulders, that pisses me off. Right, because I'm like, I know you have an answer inside of you. Because you're the there's no shades of gray with you. It's either right or wrong. It's either yes or no. And for you to give me the I don't know, I know you're lying to me. Because you already know the answer.
And you're not good at hiding it either.
Right, and you're just choosing to be disobedient and tell me you don't know. And I'm like, don't lie to me. And that's just one thing, you all know me well enough right now. If you lie to me, I'm going to get pissed. Because I don't like a liar. Mm-hmm. Liars and me, we don't get along well. So when you gave me that answer, I knew then exactly how to proceed. And when I told you, oh, no, you'll never have to choose between being able to love your mom or whoever else I eventually marry, because you can have both. Then you were like, instantly your tears stopped. And you were good. It's like, oh, I don't have to choose? Oh, I'm good. Yeah, you can marry, no problem. You were, and I was like, you sure? You go, oh, yeah, I'm good. I thought I had to choose. And as long as I don't choose, yeah. Because you asked me, I can have both? I'm like, yeah. It's like, so it's not like we're telling you we're going to a dessert shop and you only have one flavor ice cream or two flavor ice cream. No. You want all the toppings? Okay, fine. You may have stomach ache, but it's different. So, but I get it. Evans, so Jackson's point, again, you were 4, and you were closer to mom than you were to me. So for you, I get it. It made a lot of sense and it probably would even look awkward for me to have brought somebody around sooner, right? Before we could all kind of get through this healing process and be able to have these kinds of conversations.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you said that 3 of us, me, Caden, and Ryan, were all closer to you, and then Jackson was closer to mom?
Yeah.
Well, that's like me with glasses. You guys all have glasses.
What?
That's a great analogy. Sorry, I keep
It's
being on
not
the desk.
that, but I'm just saying that's like flipped.
Yeah, it's
Didn't mom have like reading glasses though?
She wore glasses. She wore glasses and contact. Not glasses and contact at the same time, but
Yeah, it's like eagle eyes right there, or it makes it worse. Actually.
yeah, I know. But yeah, she
I did that yesterday.
glasses. Yeah. So we'll take that loose analogy. Yeah, very loose. Yes, sir.
I want to put in a part where I say how we would be if we still lived in Menifee.
Sure.
I was gonna say, I don't think I would be good at holding. I'm not good at right now holding back my anger against him, but
him being Evan.
yes, but I don't think I would be.
Even worse than
Yeah. So I think there would be chances of me either hurting him pretty bad
or fighting other kids at school instead.
That too.
Even so, that took you like 7 years to handle, bro. That took you like.
But let me ask. But it's a valid point, right? I would honestly believe that, and you can help me if I'm wrong, but I would tend to believe that some of the anger towards Evan or even anybody else was the misplaced anger that you had inside with the loss of your mom and not really knowing how to process. Fair?
Yeah.
And I said it because I had that a lot myself. When I would get angry at one of you all, it wasn't. You guys caught more heat because I was mad at your mom being gone and leaving me with all of you all to raise by myself. Then it was really the problem with what you guys did. I mean, when I tossed the plate across you and to me that's still traumatizing to me. I still remember that. It's one of the most stupid things I've ever done. Right? I wasn't mad at you because you didn't want to eat pancakes. I mean, think about it. Nobody can eat the same thing every day. It's just stupid, right? It is.
It's too.
Now, I did that in college because when I was in college, I didn't have much money. So my choices then were, if I had to realize for myself, if I was going to eat, I had to make a choice.
It's either you eat or you starve.
Eat or starve. And so when I went back to those brass tacks, those basic things for me, I've been able to eat the same thing every day because I was eating to survive, eating to live. Thankfully, the Lord has never put us in that place that you all are aware of, that we were having to eat to survive. For you all, it's always looked as if we've had options. For me, being the parent, there weren't always a bunch of options. There was more than one, right? There may not even been the ones we wanted to choose from, but there were not a lot of options in some cases. But we're thankful that the Lord was our provider and brought us through all of that, and that you all didn't have to experience what the reality of some of our moments were, right? Yes, sir.
That reminds me of when every time we would go to church when you have to work early in the morning, we would always get Jack in the Box. That was
Good amount
Jack
of
in the
time.
Box
But-
or Little Caesars.
Right.
I
Pizza the
don't
Box.
like Little Caesar or Jack in the Box anymore.
Right, and I want to apologize for that, but I can't really, right? Because as your dad, all I can think of is, are they eating? Did you have food? Okay, fine. If you got food and you're eating, I really couldn't give a rip about what it was. As I didn't have a bunch of time or options or whatever. I hated the thought of having to bring you all out to church all those times, but I couldn't leave you all at home. But here's the thing. I have a degree in electrical engineering. We really didn't have to have been working for a church where I was working all that time on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to do that. I have a degree where I could have gone and found a job, a high-paying job like I lost at Abbott, anywhere else. But here's my concern. The options in that small little town to find a job making what I was making before were slim to none. The only place to really go, the options to find a job like that was doing what so many other people were doing, which was driving into Orange County, LA, or San Diego. That's why the Inland Empire and places like that were called bedroom communities, where people were really just coming home to go to sleep. But that was an hour or two or more hour drive one way. And then the question then became, who takes care of you all when I'm away? When at that time, in that season, three of you, Rhyen, Jackson, and Evan, you were all really struggling with getting a control of your asthma. Right? And we were all four of you, well, Shane included, but mostly four of you. Shane didn't have as much of a problem, he's older. But four of you all had issues with me being farther away from you. So I chose not to drive 3 hours away and have to figure out who's caring for you all and working through that separation anxiety.
I was going to say something. I feel like if you did do that, I feel like we all would have been different.
Yeah.
Only because you weren't there. Probably been like, okay, when is Dad coming back? And we would have been anxious on every single thing we were going to do.
But and I don't believe you would have been different for the better.
I feel like we would have had a lot of harbored resentment, probably, because we'd be like, oh, why isn't he here all the time? He knows that we don't have Mom with us anymore. Why would he leave all the time for all these long points throughout the day?
Right.
We'd probably have a lot of resentment because of that,
Right.
if you had done that.
And I don't want to do that. And then there were still days, how do I respond then with trying to get a call from the nurse? And granted, there would be ways to have to figure it out. But I don't know how I would have figured that out and tried to tell you, well, you're having an asthma attack and you need to come home, and I'm 3 hours away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just because we know Rhyen, you were airlifted. You know, I'm not saying off but I mean you were down laying on the Vanderwood's porch.
That was like really scary, and I was.
Because we chose to sit by some cats.
Yeah, but even a thing though. But think about it, even before then, you guys were kids. We really did. I mean, we knew that you were allergic to cats, but I mean, come on, me as the dad, I didn't really realize that you were in the house. I was just thinking, okay, He's outside with the Vanderwood. He knows. You know that what you're allergic to.
Mm-hmm.
He must be okay. You got to know this. I'm going to run to the store real quick and be okay.
I remember that day very fondly. I remember
we
it was
lived in the house.
somebody's birthday at the Vanderwoods.
It was no one's
There's
birthday.
no
one's birthday.
No, that day.
Oh,
Not that
well,
day.
No one's
it was
birthday.
another day where we were at the Vanderwoods. We're all inside, and Rhyen, I'm like kind of just chilling by their couch, and I see Rhyen kind of coughing, and I look over. I'm like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And then he just starts. Something happens. I can't remember, but then he like starts walking, and then he like falls, and then I hated this part. I see Rhyen. I'm on the stairs, and all I see is Rhyen trying to crawl outside the door. That
I wasn't crawling. I know. Okay, what I remember. I'll let you finish, and then I'll say what I remember.
Like I remember, at least I was hearing from Yvonne and everybody else that Rhyen was trying to crawl out. I hated that. And then when Donovan brought me up to his room, and I could just see Rhyen being lifted into the ambulance, and I just couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. So tell
What's
you.
it like almost dying?
Well, I didn't remember it.
You see the light?
Well,
So you can't say he didn't see you crawl on the floor because it was a reflex. Because I still.
Did someone zip your soul back in your body like a sleeping bag?
So, okay, what I remember what happened was, for the most part while we were there, everything was pretty much fine. I felt a little wheezy a couple of times, but it wasn't super bad. At least I thought.
Did we also not bring an inhaler with us either?
I don't think. I think it was in the
We sat
house.
inside a house full of cats and didn't bring an inhaler with us and said, this will be fine.
Well, I made sure to carry one after that for sure.
Yeah.
Still carry one every day to school, everywhere. Every time I leave the house, I take one with me.
I should do that.
Okay, I don't know why you don't, but anyways, so like I said, it was like normal for the most part. We were just up in Donovan's room, or like we were upstairs playing.
Video games?
Yeah, we were playing video games, and then after a little bit, I felt a little like I needed some air, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go downstairs for a bit, and then like it progressively started to get worse, and I was like, oh man, I need to like. The last thing I remember was going to the front door because I wanted to get fresh air outside to see if that would help. I opened. I was like fidgeting with the door because like
He wasn't crawling yet. At that point, he wasn't crawling because I was watching him try. I think I turned the corner and I'd see him like open the door.
Yeah, I couldn't breathe. It was so hard to breathe that I was struggling to try to unlock and open the front door. And then I was just gonna like sit outside on the porch. And all I remember was I got out onto the porch and then blacked out. And that's the last thing I remember. And then I remember waking up in the hospital. And I was like, where? I didn't know where I was.
And I remember. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
From what I remember, you were outside and you were kind of like, you know, the thing you do when you're like holding on your knees to kind of, you're tired when you're trying to catch your breath.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you eventually got on the ground and Mr. Vanderwood had to give you CPR because you literally were not breathing.